Yes, indeed. It's a Friday edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, and there's a lot to get to on this Friday. The Browns and the Dolphins playing this Sunday. It is a huge game, as they all are for the Browns for the rest of the season. Plus, we look ahead to the weekend for the Cavaliers, including a huge matchup with the Golden State Warriors tonight on the West Coast to wrap up the Cavs mixed road trip. We'll get to that. Plus, I'll pick all the games for week number 10 in the NFL versus the spread, and what can the spreads tell us about what Vegas thinks about the Browns. We'll get to all of it coming up on a Friday Bullpen, November the 11th, 2022.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
All right, here we are on this Friday and this Sunday. Well, let's get right into it. The Browns playing the Dolphins. The game is in Miami. Expected to be very warm there at Hard Rock Stadium. 78 degrees expected at game time. Mostly sunny skies. Not a big deal, I don't think. The warm weather. The Browns have played in pretty warm weather. And the weather's been gorgeous here, right? I mean, the weather's just starting to turn. It's like tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 40s, and that we're set from there. But it's been the best October, early November weather that I can remember. And this is my 13th fall in Northeast Ohio, I think, if the numbers are accurate. I believe so. So it's been just phenomenal weather. It's warm, but I don't think it's a big deal for the Browns. What is a big deal for the Browns is the injury report, and that's where we got to begin. When the week started, it seemed like David Njoku would be back this week, and to me, that's a big thing. And the three guys we were looking at getting back this week were David Njoku, Wyatt Teller, and Denzel Ward. And unfortunately, one of those guys is not looking good, and that's David Njoku. David Njoku is not practiced. Now, we'll see what happens today. Obviously, I'm recording this at 9. Well, you don't know what time I'm recording it, but I'll tell you. It is right now 9:13 a.m. on Friday, November 11th, when I'm recording this. And as of now, David Njoku is not practiced. Hopefully, he can get in at least a limited practice today, which would give him a chance. But as of now, you have to assume he's not going to play. That's the most likely scenario. It would be big to have him back against Miami, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. The good news is that Denzel Ward and Wyatt Teller should both return, I would expect. Wyatt Teller's gotten in 2 limited practices after missing last couple of weeks. And Denzel Ward, coming back from a concussion, had a limited practice on Wednesday, and he was full go yesterday. So since it's a concussion and not a bone or a pulled muscle or something like that, and he had a full practice yesterday, I'm going to assume he is back. So other things for the injury report, Joel Bitonio often gets a Veterans Day off on Wednesday. That happens with Myles Garrett as well, and Clowney as well. None of those guys practiced. Amari Cooper and Martin Emerson, and so those guys all did not practice Wednesday. Those guys all practiced on Thursday, full practice for Bitonio, for Clowney, for Amari, for Emerson, for Myles Garrett. They're all good to go. Now, this is interesting. Could be nothing, could be something. Jack Conklin had a limited practice on Wednesday and then did not practice yesterday. That might just be a thing where, Bitonio didn't practice on Wednesday and Conklin didn't practice on Thursday. Because we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that for Friday. If Conklin doesn't go, James Hudson, to me, that's not a huge deal. James Hudson's done a great job, but you always rather have a starter. And the only reason I'm a little concerned is because the Wednesday practice was limited. JOK also not looking good to come back this week. He missed last week's game and has not practiced at all this week. Same for Perion Winfrey. Greg Newsome has practiced this week. He's been limited on both Wednesday and Thursday. So it looks like everybody's going to go except for JOK and Njoku. Those two guys are long shots of the guys we care about that matter. And Conklin, you got to be a little concerned about too. But I think JOK, I think we were just all assuming he was going to be out again this week. So that's not. But Njoku was the guy you thought off the bye he'd come back with the ankle injury. It's obviously a little more severe than we first thought. And so if he gets a practice in Friday, obviously there's a chance he'll play. But right now it's not looking great. And that's a bummer because you could use him. You need all hands on deck. Browns are playing a very good football team. I like many people, have often poo-pooed the Dolphins when they have made a run. In the last decade, there's been a couple of years where the Dolphins were pretty good, and I never bought into them because they never really had a quarterback I trusted. And in his first 2 years in the league, when he played, Tua did not look like a good quarterback. And so it's easy to write him off. I was prepared to write him off coming into this season, but I thought it was too soon. Well, if you've watched Tua play at all and not just seen the stats or whatever, well, if you saw the stats, you'd be impressed. But if you watched him play, he may not look like the perfect quarterback. It's odd looking at a left-handed quarterback. We rarely see it. He's the only left-handed quarterback that I know of in the league, certainly the only left-handed starter. When I was a kid, you saw more lefties. Not that there were a million of them, but it was not this uncommon. And so I think part of the reason he looked bad to some of us, not all, was that, myself included, was that lefties look weird because we're not used to seeing a lefty throw the ball. And at times over the last 2 years, it just seemed like he didn't have a good enough arm to get anything done. And when Tyreek Hill said, hey, this guy can play, he's huge, he's accurate, all these things. And we all laughed. And while Tua is obviously not better than Patrick Mahomes, he's had a tremendous season. And the Dolphins are 6-3. Tua has started 7 games, but he started and finished 6 games. And in the 6 games that Tua has started and finished, the Dolphins are 6-0. They lost to the Bengals in the game he got hurt, and then they lost the other 2 games where he did not play. But when he's been out there for the whole game, he's been very good. He's completing over 2/3 of his passes. Let me correct that. Higher than that. Sorry, that was just against the AFC. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes, 15 touchdowns, and 3 picks. That's pretty big. He's really done a tremendous job. And since coming off the injured list, or not the injured list, but he's coming off the injury, he's won. Excuse me. He's won 3 in a row. A little water. The last 3 weeks. Now, granted, against bad teams, the Bears, the Lions, and the Steelers, but he's thrown 7 touchdowns and no interceptions, and a offensive line that's not great and had its issues. He's only been sacked twice. The Lions got him twice. Did not get sacked by the Bears. Did not get sacked by the Steelers. And he actually didn't play a great game against the Steelers in his first game back from injury. They won, but he didn't have a great game in that game. But the last 2 against the Bears and Lions, the Dolphins have scored 66 points. Now, their defense has allowed 59 points. But he's completed about 75% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, no picks in the last 2 games. So this game is going to be really tough. I do think it's interesting that the Browns are only a 3.5-point underdog to a 6-3 team on the road. Basically, Vegas is telling you that the Browns and Dolphins are basically even. That if this game was on a neutral field, it'd be a pick'em. Or maybe the Dolphins would be a 1-point favorite, 0.5-point favorite, 1.5 at the most. But basically, Vegas is telling you they think the Browns are as good as the Dolphins. And I think if you've seen the 2 teams play for much of this year, outside of the Bengal game last Monday or 2 Mondays ago, most people wouldn't think that they're even teams. The Dolphins have overall played much better football, but Vegas is telling you they have some belief in the Browns. And the reason there's belief in the Browns is a few things. And I'll tell you about it coming up in just a sec. First, though, I got to talk to you folks about something. And I'm stalling for time for a second because I don't have my talking points here. But Bet Online. BetOnline.net, your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. They've got it all on BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So why is it that the Browns have a legitimate chance, are only a 3.5-point dog on the road against a team that's 6-3 and 6-0 in games in which their current quarterback has started and finished? There's a few reasons for that. Number one, I think Vegas thinks that the Browns have maybe turned a corner defensively. We know the Browns have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary and at defensive end. And last 2 weeks ago, they showed it against a very potent offense. I think, and I mentioned this early in the week, I know the Panthers are not a very good team. However, the fact that the Bengals were playing great offensive football and just great football in general for 5 weeks before the Browns, and that after getting smoked by the Browns, went right back out there again and smoked Carolina, and their offense looked unstoppable even without Jamar Chase. I think that plays a role here in thinking, wow, I think maybe at first people thought, well, the Browns slowed down the Bengals because of Jamar Chase. Well, Jamar Chase was not back last week, and the Bengals offense looked fantastic. That says a lot about what the Browns did defensively against them, and I think the Browns are getting credit for it in terms of what people think of them and certainly what Vegas thinks of them. That's number one. Number two, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is been phenomenal. If he has 159 yards on the ground this week, he will hit 1,000 yards in the 10th week of the season, 9 games. The Dolphins are not great against the run. Now, they've been gashed more in some games by quarterbacks. Justin Fields ran for a ton of yards against them last week. Josh Allen a few weeks back. Lamar Jackson early in the season. However, if you look more carefully and you look at the teams that have good running backs that have faced them, those running backs have fared well. They just haven't faced a lot of teams that are good, that have a good running game with their running back. And now they are going to. The Browns' offensive line, even if Wyatt Teller's not back or Jack Conklin doesn't play, although my guess is both guys will go, the Browns' offensive line is, if not the best, certainly a top 2 or 3 offensive line. Nick Chubb, in my opinion, is the best pure running back in the game. Even if he's not, he's top 2 or 3. Elite offensive line, elite running back. The Browns, they want to get this game to where they, are in control of it. Now, it won't be easy because the Dolphins' offense has the ability to quick strike. And if the Browns fall behind big, they're currently constituted, not really built to come back from a big deficit. They're going to not run the ball as much. Everybody's going to get agitated, complain about the carries, complain, Nick Chubb didn't get 20 carries, that's why they lost, and all that nonsense. But the Dolphins are vulnerable, and their defense has not played well. It is not. I mean, go back the last 6 games, all right? They gave up 32 to the Bears, who have not a good offense. 27 to the Lions, not a great offense. They held the Steelers to 10. That's the worst offensive football. Gave up 24 to the Vikings, 40 to the Jets, and 27 to the Bengals. So they've given up 24 or more points 5 of the last 6 weeks and 6 of the last 8 weeks. Their defense is vulnerable. There's only been 2 games where the defense has played well, and that was against the Patriots and the Steelers, two bad offensive teams. Now, I know the Patriots have been better lately, but early in the season, they hadn't really been using Ramondre Stevenson, who's become their stud back. They hadn't really used him early in the year like they are now. So To me, that's a big difference. And that's a big part of the reason why I think the Browns can have some success offensively. Not to mention Jacoby's played well, and Amari Cooper's cruising right now. Donovan Peoples-Jones is playing well right now. Again, Njoku would have been big to have him back. It's, if he can't get a practice in today and he doesn't play, it hurts. But the Browns got a real shot, and they've got to play this game like they did. They got to play every game the rest of the year as if the season's on the line, because it is. Because they have to win almost every game the rest of the year. They can't afford too many slip-ups. They can't. I mean, I don't know how many games you expect to lose and make the playoffs, but the Browns are, not far from the limit. At 3-5, they might be only lose one more game the rest of the year. And that's probably not going to happen, but you never know. But they got to play like they can't afford to lose any more games this year. That's how they have to come out every single week. And if they do that with the talent they have, and if they look anything like the team we saw in Cincinnati, then yeah, I think they got a good shot to win this game. All right, let's go. Well, let's go around the NFL, and then I'll come back to the Browns and Dolphins to wrap it up with my pick there. First of all, last night, Thursday Night Football, Panthers beat the Falcons 25-15. I did not watch this game at all. I was so tired last night. I didn't watch a single play. I do know in reading about it that Baker Mayfield did not get in there. Obviously, P.J. Walker the Panthers went all run. They ran the ball. They ran it 47 times, threw it 16. They won 25-15. And Deontay Foreman, who was a guy early in his career, decent draft pick, was hurt for years and years, got an opportunity last year when Derrick Henry got hurt with the Titans, and had filled in for him nicely. He's done the same with Carolina since Christian McCaffrey's gone. 4 to 5 games over 100 yards rushing. He had 31 carries for 130 and a touchdown over 4 yards a carry. So the Panthers ran it 47 times. In this game, there were 72 runs. 72 runs for 370 yards and a total of 46 passes for 254 yards. This was obviously a run-happy game. Okay. I had Carolina yesterday, so I'm already 1-0 this week. All right, the game in Germany for the first time, I believe, an NFL game in Germany. And this is the Seahawks and the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is considered the home team in this game. Obviously, it's a neutral site, but they're listed as the home team. They are a 2.5-point favorite. It's really amazing. Seattle continues to get no respect. They are 6-3. Tampa's looked awful, and the Buccaneers are favored in this game. It's really stunning. I know, like, this idea. I get it's Tom Brady. He could rail off 8 wins in a row, and I guess nobody would be surprised. And he had a good last drive last week to salvage their season and avoid going 3-6. I just don't believe it. I am finally, which means I'm going to be wrong, right? I'm finally ready to buy into the Seahawks, so of course they're going to lose this game. But I'm going with Seattle. It's hard to bet against them right now. They found that the running back of the future in Kenneth Walker III, he's been phenomenal. If you haven't seen him play, he's been absolutely incredible. Geno Smith playing out of his mind. I'll take the Seahawks. A neutral site game as an underdog at 6-3. I'll go with Seattle in this one. Viking, and then the 1:00 games. Vikings and Bills and Buffalo. The big question here is what's going on with Josh Allen? Is he going to play? The Vikings, the most under-the-radar 7-1 team I think we've ever seen. The Bills with a banged-up Josh Allen are a 3.5-point favorite. Obviously, if we knew Josh Allen was 100% healthy, they'd be a bigger favorite. This is a tough one to pick because you don't know what's happening with Josh Allen. I'm going to go ahead and take the Bills anyway. I just don't believe in the Vikings. It's unfair. They're 7-1. They deserve respect, and I'm not ready to give it to them. Even with a banged-up Josh Allen, I'm going to take the Bills minus 3.5. Lions at the Bears. It's a battle of two yucky teams. Lions haven't won a road game this year. The Bears at home are 2-2, 3-6 overall. They're a 3-point favorite at home. Justin Fields has obviously played a lot better lately. I got to see more. I mean, in terms of throwing the ball, he hasn't really been that impressive. Obviously, the running game with him has been just crazy. The Lions' defense stinks, though. The Bears are at home. I guess I'll take the Bears in this one. Don't love it. Broncos at the Titans, another 3-point game. Titans a 3-point favorite here at home. Russell Wilson played pretty well in their last game in England. And, the Titans lost to Kansas City. We know they're good at home. They love running the ball. I'm going to go. This is a tough one to me, too. I'd stay away from it, but if I have to pick, I'll take the Titans. Jaguars, Chiefs, 1 o'clock. Chiefs a 9.5-point home favorite. Excuse me. Still some final remnants of COVID for me. Oh, all right. I'm going to take there's no reason not to take the Chiefs at home. Jaguars have played okay, but Chiefs under a 10-point favorite, I'll go with it. Get back to the Browns. Texans and Giants. This one's weird to me. Now, the Texans are arguably the worst team in football. Now, it does feel like the Giants have certainly overachieved at 6-2, and they played probably their worst game of the year last week, losing to Seattle by 2 touchdowns. However, they're at home against an awful Texans team and only favored by 4.5. Even if we agree that the Giants are overrated and have, overachieved, the Texans are horrible. This, to me, seems like the lock of the week, which means it'll probably go the other way, but I'll take the Giants minus 4.5. We know that the Saints are a much better team at home than on the road. The Steelers are 2-6 and on their way to their first losing record in 20 years. I hate this game. Don't like either team. I don't want to pick the Steelers. The Saints are a 1.5-point road favorite. I actually think the Steelers will get this one and get their third win of the year. I'll take the Steelers plus 1.5. Gives me pain to do it, but I'll do it. 4 o'clock games, 3 of them. Colts and Raiders in Vegas. This is an awful game between two awful teams. Raiders are a 4.5-point favorite. Jeff Saturday comes out of the ESPN analyst chair to become a head coach and is coaching a game 5 days later. This is crazy. There's no way you can pick the Colts. As bad as the Raiders are, I got to take them at home. Cowboys at Packers. Cowboys a 4.5-point road favorite. Aaron Rodgers looks completely shot. Their offense stinks. And I'm a believer in the Cowboys, especially in their defense. And Dak Prescott hasn't even played that well. They got to stick with Tony Pollard. They will this week. I don't think Elliott's coming back yet. I'll take the Cowboys on the road. Cardinals at the Rams. 2 desperate teams in L.A. Cardinals are 3-6. Rams are 3-5. The loser of this game is done, most likely. They may both be done anyway. I think the Rams are in worse shape than the Cardinals. The Rams can't run the ball. Stafford's banged up. I'll take the Cardinals to win on the road. I'll take the 1.5. Sunday Night Football. Chargers at the 49ers. Niners are a 7-point favorite at home. I don't understand why they're that big a favorite. The Chargers are 3-1 on the road. I know the Chargers wide receiving core is banged up, but they got Herbert. Even though he hasn't been as good this year, he's been a little banged up. They got Austin Eckler, one of the best backs in the game. Josh Palmer, their young receivers, played well. I know Mike Williams is not going to play. And Keenan Allen as well, but this, to me, feels like a field goal game one way or the other. I love the Chargers in this one. +7. I can't believe the spread's that big. Save the Monday night game for Monday. That should be an ugly one. I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'll give you my final prediction on Browns Dolphins and some thoughts on the Cavs going into the weekend as well. All right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. All right, here we go. I'm back. All right, Browns-Dolphins. Let's get to it. Browns are a 3.5-point dog. I'm a little surprised it's not higher than that. But I'll tell you what. I like the Browns at the very least to keep it close. If you look at the Browns season, in their 5 losses, they've lost by 1, 3, 2. Now they got blown out by New England, and then by 3 to the Ravens. I think at the very least this is a field goal game, so I'm going to take the Browns, and I do think they're going to win. I think they're going to hand the Dolphins their first Tua end-to-end loss. I am buying into the Browns. I am buying into the Browns defense. Joe Woods kind of turned it around midseason last year. Maybe I'm getting suckered, but I'm buying into the change that the Browns are going to play a different way, more aggressively. We got to see it. I know it's risky to blitz Tua because if you don't get there with his two elite receivers in Hill and Waddle, it's very dangerous. They'll kill you in a hurry with big plays. You got to be creative. You can't be vanilla defensively. They played differently against Baltimore. They played very differently against Cincinnati. We've got to see more of it against Miami. You got to keep them guessing. I think they will. I think they'll still be more aggressive. Love the way the offense is playing. Huge game for Nick Chubb. And the Browns win a nail-biter. I got this one 31-30. Browns pull it out, a high-scoring game. And, well, I'm getting a little too crazy. I'm saying I'm loving the defense playing better than I'm saying they're going to give up 30 points. I don't know. But I it's going to be a close game, but I think the Browns will pull it out. All right, final thing. Let's get to the Cavs for a minute. Cavaliers will wrap up what's been a tough road trip. They won the first two games in Detroit, and the Lakers lost the last two. Collapsed at the end of the Clippers, and a really bad loss to the Kings on Wednesday. I think they're going to go into Oakland tonight and beat the Warriors. The Warriors are not playing great. I think the Cavs are ticked off how they played the last 2 weeks. They've been called out, deservedly so, by their coach. I think they're going to come out really excited to play and ready to go. The Cavs will play 2 games this weekend, tonight against the Warriors on the road, and then Sunday they come back home and play the Timberwolves at 6 o'clock. So you can obviously watch the Browns at 1 and then maybe even go to the Cavs game against Minnesota before they go back on the road to Milwaukee on Wednesday next week, which I can't wait for that game. But I'm excited about tonight's game. You got to stay up late to watch it, 10 o'clock start. But I think the Cavs are going to take care of business in Oakland tonight. All right, thanks for joining me today as always. Check me out on Twitter at Adam the Bull. At my website, adamthebull.com, you could look into how you can hire me for speaking engagements or to officiate a wedding or other things. Check out my Cameo, Adam the Bull. And make sure you are subscribed. You subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on YouTube, where you'll get alerts if you click on the bell for my podcast, for anything with our show, post-game shows, breaking news shows, any of that. And if you want to become a member for less than $4.99 a month, you'll have tons of bonus content. Over a year, be over hours and hours of bonus content for less than $60 for the year. So check it out. I'll talk to you Monday. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. See ya.